2010, do you think at this point of time, I know it's impossible to predict, it's not just possible to say where we'll be in 2010, but from the signs that you are picking up, do you think that this will be a less turbulent year in the way 2009 was? Of course, I'm not taking into account something global that goes wrong which we can't predict, but by and large, are you bullish for 2010?
See, by and large, I'm mildly bullish. However, mildly bullish,
okay,
because the base effect has already taken place. So I don't think people should expect, 60-70% kind of return. Now it will start to track the corporate earnings. So I think a 15-20% kind of return is a good return, and I think it indeed is a good return. Because where on earth you get 15-20% kind of consistent return. So I think it is going to now track the corporate profitability, which is expected to be in the region of 25-30% with the base effect even of this year. That's a decent return to beat inflation. That's a decent return to get your financial goals and life goals right. But before that, I think the other two important factor is get your life insurance and get your health insurance proper in the overall scheme of things.
So Sundeep, are you mildly bullish? Bullish what? I've never heard Anup use the word mildly bullish.
And I also heard this term for the first time. I think one thing is right to get the expectations need to be right. I mean, we are coming out of a year where we have seen returns of 100%. I think it's very important. Like I said, I mean, when we started there, we thought nothing will go right. After 100%, we should not expect another 100%. Yeah, I think I agree with Anup. I think we expect the corporate earning to be at 15-20%. And today as an industry, I think it is our endeavor to, find those companies which can generate return a little more than that. And
what are the kind of innovations you see happening as far as mutual funds are concerned? I mean, ETF for one thing became, of course it's been around for a few years, but I think in 2009, thanks to the rallying of gold, it became a lot more popular than what it was perhaps in the past. Apart from that, can an investor see different innovations, for instance?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, ETF is one innovation which has really caught up, and I'll actually go back to one of your earlier questions. The gold ETF is really picking up. We today as a big retail fund house, we clearly see demand coming from very small cities, which was not expected about 2 years back. Now coming back to the innovations, I think broadly till now innovation in the mutual fund industry has always been seen as coming out with new products. I think one thing which is I think very clear is now NFOs
you don't have a lack of products. Clearly, you have enough schemes. It's about getting people to invest in them.
So it's all about now NFOs are a thing of past. Now investors will keep chasing schemes or keep investing in schemes which have a track record. So that is one. B, a lot of innovations now will start coming in the on the feature side. So SIP was one of the best innovations which was there. Then we saw SIP and insurance getting clubbed. Some of the AMCs came up with the product where the SIP and the insurance was there. Then the trigger options were coming. I mean, where you could enter or exit at various triggers. Now, I mean, recently some of the AMCs have come up with smart STP, I mean, which is you won't be investing a fixed amount. The amount will be decided depending on the market levels. So I think a lot of innovation is going to be there, and I personally believe, going forward, innovation is the name of the game. And innovation in the industry, it will have to move away from the product innovation to the feature innovation.
Okay, I'm going to close this by asking all three of you, since you represent very large organizations, the point which Paresh made earlier, that you all have in the last 20 odd minutes articulated as far as what I need to do with my money. But the key question is, how do I go about it? And I think the point that he raised about the role of advisory and the progress or the kind of capacity building that each one of you in your respective areas, since you represent certain dynamics of the industry, is going to be really doing. Is 2010, Paresh, really going to be, to my mind, the biggest challenge is, I think that a lot of people understand the need to invest, but they just fall flat when it comes to who to approach to go about investing right. And which is why we've seen enormous amount of mis-selling in this country across products, I would say. So quickly, all three of you, what is it that, say for instance, your industry is going to do in terms of enhancing advisory?
Two things. One is, I guess, very clearly looking at new distribution channels which are able to reach out to more and more customers, besides the individual agent, who of course today is a dominant force. But when you look at bank assurance, when you look at what some of the companies are doing with mall assurance, tele assurance, and so on and so forth, or direct selling on the web, really using different distribution channels to reach out to customers, I think will in a way deepen the penetration, and at the same time give you a good advice, and which is where the role of the industry will become absolutely important. I think the kind of investment the industry needs to make and continue to make in improving the quality of that advice is absolutely key. I think given the levels of financial literacy that we have, I think certain minimum common standards across the board for retail financial products, not just life insurance, is an absolute must today. And that's where a lot of the investment will continue to happen in 2010.
Sure. Anup, you were one of the first companies, if I remember right, you personally drove it, where you brought people in to trade through an internet. I'm very glad to see that finally after so many years you're giving the same importance to buying mutual funds online. I'm sure you offered it as a product, but you never really spoke about it. Is that one important tool according to you?
It has to be in the next platform, because that is the trend, that is where people are moving to, that is where financial products are being researched. Financial products have been researched online. There is a huge appetite to know more about financial products, and it is so heartening to know that sitting here we are doing a advisory financial planning kind of a show, which 8 to 10 years ago such shows were not there. Everybody is talking about financial planning, and it is not one person's doing. I mean, it has to be a collective force which will work.
Sure. Sundeep, closing remarks. You've had a bit of a rough time as an industry, in the sense, you've just had a situation where there's been certain regulatory changes. Do you see the industry overcoming that quickly enough for people to be able to get that one person or entity or that screen in front of them where they can actually go out there and buy the product?
I think role of the financial advisor or the intermediary can never be undermined. I mean, whether it's offline or whether it's online.
Sure.
I mean, that is the connectivity between the manufacturer and the investor. So I think definitely technology will play a very important role in times to come, because it not only helps in increasing the reach, also it helps in reducing the transaction cost for us. And I'll just like to since the closing remark, last year, over the last 3 years rather, I'll say the top, again I'm coming with some data,
Sure.
The top 5 schemes in the industry gave a return of positive 20% CAGR, and the bottom 5 gave a return of minus 12%. Now I think that shows the importance of technology, the financial advisor, because I think if you're stuck up in the wrong schemes, it's a wide spectrum. And we're talking of 32%. 32% CAGR is big. It's really big. So I think what we're just trying to say is it's very important with the changes which are taking place. I think the distribution system will have to go up the value chain, and we as an industry, we are going to be investing a lot to help them to go up the value chain. And today a lot of AMCs have themselves started the learning academies, which will help the distributors also increase their delivery.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. We hope, as you very rightly mentioned through these last few minutes, that we do hope that 2010 is a year where the basics of financial planning are things that you will keep in mind. I know you've been scarred, we've all been scarred with the way we've seen our wealth erode in the first half of this year, but as our experts said, things have kind of come back to levels of what we saw before the crash. But the important thing is to understand that you've got to invest keeping a long-term view. Your goals obviously don't change overnight, and therefore your investments shouldn't change overnight as well. Right. Thanks very much for watching this special show.